Masterful Game Skills by Digital Diving. Anybody wants to say that we're not great at video games can fucking suck a dick. Look at this. I'm still alive. All right, I'm dead. Oh wait, I'm still alive.
Now you're dead. Now you're dead.
No, no, no. Oh my god, am I gonna get to the final boss before I die? Playing it backwards? Shit. Oh. No. Come on. Did I get it? I think I did.
No. And with that, we're going to open it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Digital Dive-In, your weekly proper gaming talk show. We're your hosts, Sansology and J-Dubs on another...
Beasting it backwards.
Seriously, I don't know how he was doing that, but he did. Anyone listening at home, he was just playing a game called Z-Force on Switch backwards.
Z-Warp.
Z-Warp.
And it came out on PS4, Switch, and Xbox in the beginning of April. It's pretty good for all you retro heads out there.
I want to get back into Resogun. There's a lot that goes into making video games, and there's a lot of things that people like more than others. Like they prefer story over graphics. They prefer gameplay over story. You know, a lot of things. And there's also those people who prefer like the small details in games that make the game stand out over something else. But
the way the wind blew.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be talking about what we personally love most about video games, what we love to see in video games, not so much like, you know, our favorite aspects of video games, just stuff that we really, really like to see in a game that makes a game stand out to us. It might not specifically be what we specifically look for in every single game. It's just so much as certain mechanics, certain things that stand out to us more than others in video games. We're going to be diving into that, guys. We want to hear from you guys as well. What parts of games stand out to you the most? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more of these awesome conversations. So, we talked about this a little bit last night off camera.
Because I asked you about if you want to do a topic on music.
Yeah.
Our favorite music in video games. And you were like, I don't really think music stands out to me that much. And I was like, are you kidding? And like,
well, okay, so
like
here's the thing. Like, for me, like, I appreciate soundtrack and music in the moment that it's playing in a video game. But more often than not, I won't go out of my way to find the soundtrack for that game unless it really, 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 really hit me. Like, for example, I have a couple songs on my Spotify list from Dying Light 2 and the original Dying Light. And in the game, I don't know if you got to this part. Yeah, I don't think you did. But there's this one part of the game where you walk into this room and the original Dying Light theme is playing. And it hit me in such a place. I was like, oh my God, memories.
Yeah. No, I mean, the Dying Light soundtrack is phenomenal. I know
really
you have
good.
games. I know you have games that you like the soundtrack.
Oh yeah, sure, but again, it's
but just because you love the soundtrack doesn't mean you're going to go out of your way. Like, there's so many soundtracks that I love, but not only are they not available to listen to individually,
actually, most soundtracks are available on Spotify and places like that. But I don't know, like, of course, like there's some games that I appreciate the score, but I don't think about it after I turned off the game. You know, I'm not going to be thinking about the music, even though I do like music. I'm not that big of a music file or audio file, so I'm not that big into music. I like it passively as a casual listener, but I mean, music is a really, really good example of what we're talking about today. Like these not even small aspects, just these specific aspects of games that make a game stand out over something else. So it could be a soundtrack, it could be, you know, the lighting, could be the physics, stuff like that.
Games that stand out to me the most usually have big philosophical applications to them. The meaning of life, humanity. Like when you beat them, you walk away with something. You walk away with like something heavy, something that's heartfelt, something that, you know, makes sense at the end of the day, and something that you can actually sit there and like critically think about. And it really, you know, shuts up all those stupid people that's just like, video games are just for kids, you know. What are you doing playing video games? They're not going to teach you anything. They're not, you know. Well, I would say Become Human and Near Automata can like kind of change your mind on things.
Oh,
you know,
yeah. Especially Detroit. Detroit Become Human was a really, really good story of humanity in general and how much humanity sucks. Yeah. But also like how strong the human spirit can persevere and that kind of like thoughts. And yeah, those games, like, they're really really good. For me, I love a game that pushes technology as far as it can go because I am a big technology buff. I am always looking for, like, the latest tech in terms of smartphones and computers. I love the way technology improves. And
You sound so Gen Z right now. Oh my
no,
god.
not really, because I've always been this way. Even when smartphones first came out, I was always into that. I was always into, like, looking into, like, what the new smartphone can do, what it what technology is in it, what how fast it is, what it can do, all that stuff. So with video games, like, especially nowadays, it's so interesting to see how far these developers can push the technology that are given and how good they can make games. Specifically, not specifically like graphical wise. Like, yeah, sure, like there's games like, well, Horizon Forbidden West right now. The game, like, the more and more I play this game, the more I'm into this game, the more I realize how absolutely gorgeous this game is. Like, you look at some of these cutscenes, and even not in the cutscenes, just when, like, there's like conversation pieces throughout the game. You're looking at the people. You're looking at, like, how, like, they react, like their facial animations and everything. It looks so natural. And like these cutscenes, you're looking at it and it looks like a movie. I'm like, oh my god, that is just insane. Like, you would never have thought that this would be possible in a video game.
I mean,
It's kind of nuts. But that's not even where, like, what I appreciate most, because there are games that may not look the best but are still absolutely phenomenal.
right.
For me, I think it's more along the lines of, like, the physics engine and just, like, these small little minute details that are put into a game that make the world feel real. Like, for me, like, the worlds are my favorite thing about video games because I'm huge into world building. I love creating new worlds in my stories that I write on the side. I love doing that kind of thing. I love creating characters and stuff like that, set pieces
But you
and whatnot.
realize music is a part of that.
Oh no, I get it. I'm not saying that I don't like
I
music
know,
in
I
games.
know, I know, I know.
I'm saying music, like, it, of course, is a part of, like, making the world feel alive and just making the game feel grand. It's just something that I don't specifically think about after the game is turned off and stuff
Over.
like that. Yeah. Whereas, for example, I was playing Horizon Forbidden West, and I'm using Horizon Forbidden West because right now I think it's the most advanced game that's out right now by far. But there's this part where you're in no man's land. You're standing on, like, this mountain basically. The wind's blowing. There's particles blowing all over the screen, and just having that by itself is impressive because that's what Ghost of Tsushima did. And Ghost of Tsushima did this as well. But the way the environment moves and reacts to the weather, to you, to animals, creatures, everything, battles, everything. That's super interesting because, like, you're staying on this cliff, the wind's blowing, you see the grass blowing with the wind in the same direction, which is hard to do physics wise in a game already, making it go the way it's supposed to go without any weird glitches or anything. But not only that, like, having even the pieces in the world that you can actually harvest, like, there's these, like, branches and, like, the driftwood trees, like, they will actually move with the wind with the rest of the world, like they're actually rendered, like, they are obviously rendered in, but they're part of the overall world. They can't be taken out. However, you can go up and just take them, and that's it. But all these little pieces are still moving with the rest of the world, like they're part of that world and not just placed there for you to pick up. Because in other games, you would, like, everything else would move except for the things that you had to pick up, because having something for you to harvest from the world that also moves naturally is insanely difficult. Because you had them always spawning in there again and having you pick them up all the time. So they have to be able to, move and look natural, but also, be able to you interact with them.
I mean, I
That's just
you're
this is
such.
mind boggling to me. Like
I
it's
love
just
I
like
love
holy
our
fuck.
I love our contrast because you're a new age guy, and me, I love the aspect of using new technology to bring what was already done, bring the retro s style into a new age.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there is nothing there to me. There is nothing more fascinating than somebody taking pixel art and making the most creative, beautiful, well designed world that they can without using any of this next gen stuff, without using
That's fair.
microtransactions
Yeah.
and all for $20. You can get it for $20. I'm like Hyper Light Drifter.
Yeah.
I think it's called. That game is based around one of the developers having a heart disease, and he takes his fragile perspective of life and put it into it, and it puts it into a game, and the way he artistically creates this world with just pixels, and he doesn't have any, there's no dialogue, everything is told through pictures and environmental storytelling. When you have that kind of detail in such a game that's on a small scale, but make it feel just as impactful as something as Horizon, something
Yeah.
as Dying Light or Elden Ring, that to me speaks to true creativity and development. And I'm not taking away from Horizon or, those games
Yeah,
take a
yeah,
lot of
yeah, yeah.
creativity too,
And
but I
specifically
don't know.
Horizon too, because Horizon does exactly what you're talking about, where it
Mhm.
take, especially what you were talking about, like philosophical, just stories about humanity in general.
Mhm.
Horizon and
Yep.
even Dying Light,
Dying
two
Light does that a lot
very
too.
very
Oh my
good
god.
examples of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you're talking about, like in what video games are supposed to be is just an expression of art. It's just another
Right.
form of art. That's what it is.
Right.
However, at a certain level, and this is the same gripe I have with some movies as well, art house stuff gets kind of annoying at a certain point because they tend to take all these aspects and over exaggerate it to make a point in a game or in a movie. And sometimes it's done really, 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 really well. Other times it's over the top for no reason and kind of cringy. You have to have a really, really good balance there to make it work really well. Otherwise,
I mean,
it will work. It'll be fine. I don't know.
you can argue the same thing with new age things too.
Oh
Like
yeah, for sure.
everything can be overdone. There are things that can always be overdone or done too much in
Yeah.
excessiveness. And I've seen games that have used something like, the engine from 1990s, you know what I'm saying,
Oh
do
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
where you have reflections and you have different new age things that weren't in games
Yeah.
from the 90s, having things move, like you said, having things move with the wind, and having certain small details that make a lived in feel world,
Yeah.
and it's something that I think when you're talking about art, there's so many different aspects that you could take to make something pop out and stand out and everything like that,
Hmm.
and sometimes it could be the music, sometimes it could be the world building. I would say the most superficial way to do it would be graphics.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
like,
you're right. You're right. There's like graphics. Like I said, for me, I love when a world feels real, feels lived in,
right.
feels fleshed
Hmm.
out, and it doesn't even have to have like amazing graphics for that to happen. It
Hmm.
just has to have a certain level of realism, not even realism to it, but like you have to feel like you're part of that world. Like
Right.
one of the reasons that I hated Assassin's Creed Odyssey is because the world felt way too big for its own good and empty. Like all the environments felt recycled. All of it just
Mhm.
felt generic
Like you've
and
been there
boring.
before.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, it's Greece, so it should have been this. Like the landscapes were gorgeous and everything,
Expansive and
but it
like
was just
just
empty and boring in general. So, but then you also have older games like Skyrim, for example, which like
yeah.
graphically it was fine, or even Fallout 3. Like that game did not have the greatest graphics by any means, and it was very
Oh
buggy.
no.
But the
But it was
world, even though it was covered in this like shade of gray almost, or like gray green, that
mhm.
made it feel like worth like oh, not worthless, but
It
like
made it feel like it,
hopeless
yeah,
because you're in post-apocalyptic.
void of despair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And just that matched with like all these remnants of a past war and these settlements and people and creatures and everything made the world feel so alive, even though it was dead.
Think to me, I think the second thing that I think impresses me most about video games would definitely be the story because
Oh yeah,
at the end of the day, like no matter what you're doing, how good it looks, whatever, you need to have a purpose for what you're doing. The whole reason why you buy the game is to buy the game to find a purpose
yeah,
for you to be doing these things.
more or less,
And
yeah.
I think my favorite example of that in a genre that is known for purposelessness is resistance. You know, FPSs
Yeah.
are notoriously known for not having a good story. You know, just it's just there for the action, there for the
Yeah.
gameplay. But resistance, especially on the PS3, no less, did it where you had the perfect amount of like it was like a new generation of Half Life. You know what I mean? Where it
Oh
had
yeah,
the perfect
definitely.
amount of story, atmosphere. You know, the even the voice acting for the you're so when people died around you, you felt it. Like
See,
you know, you didn't have to know them. You
here's the
know,
thing with those old FPS games. Besides Call of Duty and Titanfall and stuff like that, for a while they were making FPS games that were story driven, and
yeah.
Resistance was a good example of that. Killzone was a great example of that. Doom is another good example.
Darkness, who you were talking about.
The Darkness, yeah, like a lot of those games, they were making them more story based. Nowadays, they're making them more multiplayer based. Like case in point, Battlefield 2042, very little to no story. You're just there for the gameplay, and even the gameplay is
Ace
crap.
and point, X Defiant,
Yeah, seriously.
yeah.
But like, but then you also take a look at games like Overwatch and what's the other arena shooter? Um,
um, how am I blanking on this? It's, it's by the people that made Titanfall. Jesus Christ.
oh, Apex, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Apex.
Apex.
Yeah, yeah,
So like
yeah.
even with like those games, there's still like a significant story behind them because especially with Overwatch. Overwatch has
Yeah, yeah,
done so
Overwatch.
much to
Yeah.
blend in this their like the character stories and backstories and an overarching, mission and kind of into their game so well, and I'm waiting for them to make like an actual series about Overwatch because I would watch the crap out of that because
No,
those little animated shorts that they make to flesh out their characters and their champions are so cool. They're
I mean,
great.
it might come with the long-awaited sequel. Who knows? So,
Oh,
I
that'd be
mean,
great. That'd be awesome. But like
it
a
might still
series
be
like they
coming.
did for Arcane or like they did for the Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember
Both
that.
of those were amazing shows, especially Arcane. Arcane was awesome. Oh my god! And you don't even have to like League of Legends, World of Warcraft, League of Legends, League of Legends, League of Legends. Was it League of Legends? I keep
I'm
on
gonna let you.
confusing League of Legends and World of Warcraft.
I'm gonna let you sit on that one.
League of Legends. I was right. Fuck you. League of Legends. I don't know why I was thinking World of Warcraft, but yeah, League of Legends. You don't even have to like League of Legends to enjoy Arcane, but it adds a whole other layer to these characters that you might not have known before. So that's
Yeah,
super cool. But
that is true.
story, of course, like if anyone out there, if you know me, I'm a huge story guy, okay? I'm a writer. I live for this stuff. I love a game with a very strong story. Even
And
if it
even if
has
the,
crappy gameplay or bad graphics,
I
if
was
it
about
has
to
a great
say,
story, I'm gonna
yeah,
love it.
if that's a
But
great story, sometimes it doesn't matter.
but if it has a crappy story, then or even just like a meh story, I'm probably not, and the gameplay isn't there to back it up. Then I'm probably not going to get into it. That's what happened with Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 had a not so great story, and the gameplay was pretty much exactly the same as the other Borderlands games. So I was like, eh.
And
And
that's
that's
kind of why
exactly
it
the
was.
reason that I didn't get Far Cry 6 because the story looked interesting, but
It did look interesting.
it looked
And
interesting
that's the
enough
thing.
that I want to play it at some point, but I don't think it's going to be as strong as some of the other titles. So I was like, and the gameplay just looked the same. So
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about Far Cry is it looks interesting, but it's hard to really stay invested. And I have yet to beat a Far Cry game. I've played four, I've played three, I've
three is the
played
best one. If you're going to finish one, play three. God.
Yeah.
4 was boring, kind of. The story was just kind of dumb. 5 was good. It had a much better story. It had much better villains, and I think villains are another
And that's the
thing.
thing. I love the gameplay of Far Cry,
Yeah, it's
but
great.
their story structure is something that it's the same every game, and that kind
Exactly.
of story. I mean, that kind of story just never sits with me. Even for Far Cry
That's
3 Orange,
yeah,
it's
that's
like
fair.
you
That's
get
fair.
dropped on this island randomly. You kind of world build. You got this boss that you see 3 times throughout the game,
Yeah.
and then you're supposed to conquer the whole island. Do all this, and I'm like, eventually, I just get like if I'm distracted and go do something else, then I'm if the
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
isn't really right there in your face, which is not with Far Cry games a lot of times, I get
No,
lost.
I get it.
Just
I get it
I get
completely. And
disconnected.
yeah, I agree.
You know.
I agree. And that's why I've kind of burned out from Far Cry games because they're all pretty much the same. And this game didn't look like it was doing anything different. So I was like, okay, I'm going to skip this one until it's on sale and I can buy it for like $20. But until then, I'm good. But yeah, no. The game has to have a really, really compelling story for me to really get into it. And even if it doesn't, then I'll just, if I just want a game to just sit down and, kill time with, like, Warzone or Apex or whatever, and then I'll choose a shooter. But
For me, my quick timey games are usually first person shooters
yeah,
or
yeah,
like a
that's what
fighting game.
that's what that's what first person shooters are designed to be. They're not designed to be like,
Yeah,
time hogs. They're designed to be like, hey, jump
but
in,
I
play a couple
do.
rounds, and then bounce.
But I do like a time hog. Like I think first person games, not even just shooters, just first person games in general have
Oh
jumped to
yeah.
the top of my favorite genre list because another thing that I think people don't, not that people don't know, but maybe people take for granted that impresses a game is camera angle and immersion. You
Yeah.
know how you angle what you're trying to view, what you're trying to have the player view, and when you have it in the first person, I don't know what it is about it. It just feels so all
Oh
inclusive.
yeah,
Like
it makes you
it is
definitely feel way more
insane.
immersed. That's for sure. But it has to be done well because there's some games that are first person that are just so messy and chaotic and it looks so
No, yeah.
bad. That's why a lot of people when they play Skyrim or Fallout, they actually opt for the third person view instead of the first person. For me personally, I'll
Yeah,
always
that's
go for
true.
first person in those games just because again, you feel more immersed. You want to be immersed in that world. However,
But
on the
I did play Oblivion, and it was just kind of like,
well, Oblivion's a very old game. So but
it's
like
PS3. It's not that old.
well, yeah, that's fair. But like, for example, Horizon Forbidden West is a third person game, and it's like over the character a little bit. You can see the whole character. You can like work around and everything. But what's really cool that Horizon Forbidden West is that they added a like you can have it fixed to like one direction, or you can have it like a dynamic, which is makes it always moving from side to side, like depending on where the character is going. So if the character goes
Okay.
too far left, the camera will go more right, so you have more field of view, or
Mm.
vice versa, or up and down. So it's like more of a free form camera, which I thought would be the most annoying thing in the world, but it works so well. Sometimes you get stuck and the camera kind of goes, "Bleh," but for the most part, it works really, really well. So and that helps you to like third person games. I think it's a lot harder to get immersed into those worlds because it's third person and you literally feel like you're controlling someone, not that you are controlling
Or somebody.
yourself.
Yeah.
So of
I
course it's
think
going to be a
it's
lot
funny.
harder to get immersed in those games. But if you do it well and the world is good and the characters are there and solid, then it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Third person games were actually how I got into
Oh
shooters
yeah.
in general. It was Red Faction and Uncharted
Oh yeah.
one. Well, Uncharted one now. This is back when nobody knew what the fuck Uncharted was.
Yeah.
Like this was Uncharted one back in the EB Games times, man. Like I just picked that up randomly and I was like, this game actually isn't bad and I don't play shooters. And another game that I can attest to that has that cinematic immersion in third person is Gears of War. Like I got a
Oh
PC. I
yeah.
recently picked up Gears of War
Gears of
one,
War had a really
and
really good third person
yeah.
over the shoulder camera angle. That
So it
was really
just
really good.
really, yeah, it's crazy. You know, like when you think somewhere think one way about this certain way of playing, and then somebody adds a new dimension to it somehow.
Yeah.
You're just like, how did they do that? I feel so good. Like, what is
Yeah,
this?
like third, especially third. I feel like third person works a lot better for action games than shooter games, and that's one of the reasons I didn't get super into Fortnite, among many other reasons. But I was
yeah,
never a huge fan of
me either.
third person over the shoulder shooter games. Like that's always weird to me. I feel
Yeah,
like it lends itself much better to action adventure games. And I wouldn't
no,
even
absolutely.
say I wouldn't even say Uncharted is a shooter. I would say it's more action adventure more than anything else. Of course, there's shooter elements of it as well. There's a cover mechanic and all that stuff, but I say it's much more action adventure than anything else. But but yeah, don't
I
like
would.
I don't
I mean,
know.
I would agree if you had other weapons besides guns, but
Well, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. In like Horizon, you have like a melee weapon. You have your bow and arrow. You have your traps and rope casters and a bunch of shit. And if it was first person, that game would be nearly impossible to play. So,
but they are
it
making a
works
first
out.
person version for the VR, so we'll have to see.
Well, yeah. I think that's just a VR version of it, but it's not going to be a full fledged game. I don't think. I think it's going
I
to be
don't
more
think
of a
so.
spin off type of
But it'll be
deal.
interesting, definitely, to see how they do Horizon VR because
Yeah.
there's got to be some combat involved. You're not just
Oh
going to
well,
be
you
walking
duh, of
around
course.
looking at giraffes and like,
So,
I mean, that's all they showed. That's
but
so.
but no, I think it's going to be that would be definitely interesting. But yeah, I think another thing for me is in terms of what I look at for a game are, and this might fall into the whole graphical side of things. But again, I like the shit. Okay, I love to see games push graphics to the limit. But
I love to see what
what
they do with the old school stuff.
I love that too. I love to see like what we came from and where it's going. Because
Yeah.
like Skyrim and the Bethesda games, they were like known for their open worlds and their environments and their even their
Mm.
graphics at a point. And they did what they can with the technology they were given. But like nowadays, when kind of bums me out with games is when they use like super generic, just like filler stuff for the world. Like they use like those like when they make like a bush or something, and it's just like the flat leaves that is just like crossed like that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
That's why I'm laughing.
Like I'll look at that, I'll be like, that is some of the most laziest shit I have ever seen. Like, come on. You could do so much more with the technological power you have, but you choose to be lazy and do a bush that's like fake 3D. I'm like, oh my God. It's so frustrating to look at. And that's exactly one of my gripes with Ghost of Tsushima because they did that constantly.
bro,
That
bro,
and
bro. I'm gonna need you to hold off because I'm about to buy this game for $70. I'm late to
Well,
the
no, no,
party.
no, no.
I'm about
Ghost
to
of
buy this
Tsushima is an
game, bro.
amazing game. I love it, and the environments are
No, I'm kidding. I'm
gold.
kidding.
It's
I don't
just
care.
so
I'm gonna buy it anyway.
yeah.
Like it
Some
just,
some parts of the environment are just kind of lazy, and plus some parts of it are kind of weird as hell because they have like these bamboo forests
bro,
and the
bro. But the
single.
wind blow.
Oh no, the
But the
wind
wind
blows
blow.
gorgeous. It's amazing, and the particles across the screen, and the fact that he drags his hand
Bro, I
through the
can't wait to.
reeds.
I'm glad I
Shit's
waited for this
poetic.
game.
Shit's poetic as
Tangent,
hell.
tangent. I'm glad I waited to play this game. I wasn't really into it when it first came out, but after like 2 years or something, I'm just like, well, it's pretty much Batman Arkham, but a samurai. So,
Not really. The combat
like
is
combat
significantly
wise,
different.
really,
Oh yeah.
I heard that. I heard it was similar. I heard it was like
No,
you action, 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 parry, action, action,
I
action,
mean yeah,
circle, and
but
you know.
it's different in the fact that you're a swordsman and you have different stances, and it
Mhm.
feels more like Absolver or Seafood than Batman. Because you're not like bouncing
Gotcha.
between enemies, like Spider Man or something like that.
Okay.
Like Spider Man, yes, it's way more Arkham based
Oh yeah,
than
yeah, yeah,
Ghost
yeah,
of
yeah.
Tsushima is.
Absolutely.
Ghost of
Yeah.
Tsushima is much more like target based. Like you're fighting one
Uh,
enemy, you might parry another enemy, then go back to like destroying the enemy in front of you, but you have different stances depending on the enemy you're facing. So it's very different.
I haven't looked at it too much because I just wasn't interested in it. But then
That's
I saw
fair.
some clips where the story looked really good, and
Dude, it's so
I saw
good.
that update. I saw that update where they added the filters, and I was like, all right, that was kind of
The
cool.
Kurosawa filter, which is oh my god,
And like old
when
school
I
black
get
and white.
the that's all I
Yeah.
need, the Kurosawa filter.
Oh yeah, that's what it's called. Okay.
When I get the director's cut, I want to do like a full Japanese samurai movie run of that game, where you do the black and white, all in Japanese. I can't wait.
Film it here on Digital Dive.
Yeah, I might end up doing it. I already did a playthrough of it, and if you want to go watch it, you can check it out right here. But yeah, there were just certain aspects of the game that were kind of weird, and like the bamboo forest. Once in a while, you could like ride your horse straight through the bamboo. I'm like, what? So the bamboo's not actually there in the world. It's just kind of, you know, there ethereally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not physically in the world, and that was like, oh, come on. Certain like they had some groups of bamboo that were physically there than others that were not. It was the weirdest shit, and they did it just to fill in the background, which I get. Except I like to check this shit. All right. I like to look at this stuff. I like to look at those small little details, like, you know, leaving footprints in the sand or the snow. That's super cool to me. And if there's
For
footprints,
the
stay there.
ageism that's on
Yeah.
on leaves and
Yeah,
on rocks.
or if like bodies stay in the world. That's a big another thing for me. I love it when like you kill someone or something and that body just stays there and doesn't disappear. Sure, it takes a lot to render that and keep it there, but it's so cool when it happens. It makes like Horizon's a really good way. They all the machines that you kill, they're there. Even when you leave the area and come back, they're there. I'm like, damn, that's cool.
That I mean that is cool, but it also the render.
Dude, there's a lot.
There's
a lot.
I will. I'm at a point right now. I will sacrifice anything. Frame rate. Anything.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Horizon runs at great performance. Like I have not had any drops in frame rate at all.
But if you took a hypothetical, if you took away the body rendering, the permanent death, and you could get 120 frames, would you do it?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, here's the thing: like the bodies will stay there for a while. I don't know the actual time that they'll stay there, but like you'll go over to. I think like the big enemies that you fight will stay there, but then the smaller enemies that you fight and some of the humans and stuff like that, they might disappear after so much time because you go back to these like sites where you can find all these, you know, all these machines just in the world. You come back to those areas and the machines that you killed will no longer be there. So at a certain point, they'll disappear and the enemies will respawn. But the big ones you fight stay in the world, and that's really cool. And the frame rate stays solid, even when you go from like, you know, inside, outside, or land into the water. Like you fall, there's a seamless transition into this gorgeous underwater bits. Like, oh my God, awesome. The game is just so damn impressive. I can talk about Horizon Forbidden West all day. It's my game of the year already. Like, oh my God, it's so good.
It's not Elden Ring.
Elden Ring's great. It looks cool. I'm going to play it, but it's not game of the year worthy. I'm sorry, but no.
You know it's gonna win, bro. You know it's gonna.
That's the thing. That's the thing. One thing, kind of off topic, but I don't know if it's IGN or Gameology, whatever. It was a Twitter poll. They said, "What is your game of the year so far?" A lot of people are saying Elden Ring, but the most people are saying Horizon. I'm like, yes, we have a chance to beat Elden Ring.
but what about Dying Light?
Dying Light is not going to win Game of the Year. It was a good game, but it's not Game of the Year worthy. I'm sorry, it's just not.
Why?
It was a good game. It had too many issues, too many bugs that they still haven't fixed. But yeah. So like what's another like small mechanic that you love in games? Because I did 3 so far. So one more.
Another small mechanic for me. I think.
I mean, if you don't have one, I do.
No. I think I actually do have one. And it's gotta be honestly, this is a interesting one. It's
Go
gotta
for it.
be NPCs.
Okay.
NPCs. I need if my NPCs have a lot of personality, have a lot of story behind them, have I don't know, just a lot of interactivity
Oh
because
yeah.
games are notoriously known for having NPCs, but you have a lot of games, open world, sandbox, MMO, whatever, that do it terribly. Do
Oh
it
yeah.
terribly.
And I think that
So
I would say Dying Light 2, their NPCs are garbage.
I like their NPCs in Dying Light too. They're actually kind of lifelike. That
Not so much the people that you find in like the settlements and everything, but the people you run across on in the regular world that you don't really interact with. They're just kind of there talking. Their lines are the most idiotic shits ever.
no, they're
And
not. They're
yeah,
actually
because
some of
they
it.
say
Some
the
of it.
most generic stuff that maybe doesn't even have anything to do with what has been happening. That
Some of it is world building because a lot of
no,
them's like,
yeah,
"Yo,
no,
I
no, no.
lost my kid.
Yeah,
I
no,
lost my kid in the last raid or whatever."
yeah, no,
Like,
no, no, no. That's fine. But a lot of the ones that where they like say stuff to you, like sometimes they might not like they'll just repeat the same shit over and over and over and over and over again, or they'll say stuff that has supposed to be like related to what's happening in the world that might not have happened yet, and the timing is just completely off, and it kind of like like almost not spoils but almost gets close to it. They're just like, oh man, I hate what happened with the renegades, or I hate what happened with the peacekeepers. And I was like, I haven't done anything to the peacekeepers yet, it's in the next mission. And I'm just like, you're like a
was that in the
mission
second half
early.
of the game?
What? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Was that in the second half
Yeah.
of the game?
Yeah.
Because I didn't experience any of that, and like where
Yeah,
like NPCs control the
there's like
game
some
for you.
bits where like they'll be reacting to stuff that hasn't actually happened yet. Is then like the next mission that you're gonna do, that will be the one to like affect how people view you. And some of these NPCs are already in that mode. I'm just like, this hasn't even happened yet. Like what? What?
Yes.
It's like, oh my god, you jumped the gun, and it's like kind of stupid.
Yeah.
It takes you out of it. I'm like,
NPCs
okay.
are a very delicate thing because
Oh
it
yeah,
is 100% part of the world building. It
yeah.
is part of the environment. It is part of how you feel as a character, as a person.
Some of the best NPCs I've come across are from Bethesda games and Bioware games, because the NPCs in Mass Effect are outstanding.
Say yeah. Mass Effect was really good. I would also argue that Anthem's NPCs were interesting too.
Oh god, I was
I
so bored by everything they said. I'm like, I don't
I
give a fuck. Just let me go kill random people.
see that was the problem. Your investment
No,
in
because like they just droned on and on and
but
on.
it was world building. It was about the story. I was actually interested in the story and what was going on, so I picked up the
Oh,
lore.
so
I
was
looked at all the
I. I
lore
tried to follow
characters.
the story,
You
but the
know,
story was so convoluted and annoying and boring.
it wasn't that convoluted. It was less convoluted than Destiny. It wasn't
I
that
mean, that's
bad.
fair, but it was still boring as hell. Like they had,
I think
there was no
they
drive for me to do anything in that game.
EA had a missed opportunity. I bought that legendary edition for $10, and I got my money's worth.
Every so often, I kind of feel like going back into the game because I love the opening music. That's one of my favorites.
The
Um,
music, the world building, not even the world, but the world itself, like the
the
graphics were
world
amazing.
building was garbage. The world building was absolute garbage, and I was so disappointed because it's Bioware. It's what they're supposed to be best at, and it
See,
was
that's the problem.
bad
Everybody looks at this game with a BioWare bias. They were going into
because
a
it's a
new market.
Bioware game.
They were going into a new market and doing something different. This is why I don't see.
Ugh.
This is why I don't follow developers. I follow games because developers could all of a sudden switch lanes and say, "I want to do this instead." Hey, if Bioware came out with a racer, would you expect a racer to have fucking 50 million different options to say what they want to
The thing
say?
is,
No, it's a racing game.
the thing is, Anthem isn't that far away from Mass Effect. So, hi, or fire truck. Anthem isn't that far away from Mass Effect in terms
It,
of it's not. It's really not. You're in a
it
world.
is.
You're a shooter. It's over the shoulder shooting. It's world building the same as Mass Effect did. It's not that far
But
fetched.
it's a
Now
different scale.
jumping
It's not a.
genres, sure,
Mass Effect was
that's
an
different.
RPG. The Mass Effect was a story RPG that connected all three games to your decisions. Anthem did not promise that and was not that. It was just a.
The story still could have been a lot better than it was. NPCs are a really delicate situation. You have to do them really well, otherwise they can really destroy the immersion that you built up onto that point. Also,
Hell,
and I'm not even talking about like side characters like
Fallout
that
76 didn't have any
that aren't
NPCs.
NPCs. Well, yeah, I'm talking about like NPCs that you just come across in the world that are just kind of there, you know, to make to fill the world. And I'm not so much talking about the actual side characters in the game, you know. So, yeah, if you have really good side characters and really good NPCs, then a game can be really, really good. If you don't have really good NPCs at all, then the game's going to be kind of rough.
Example: Spider-Man. NPCs were phenomenal, man.
Oh yeah, like you can walk through,
York
you can go through the New York on the ground, like high five
You're
people,
this-
take
yeah,
pictures. It was fucking great.
Yeah,
It was
man, this
amazing.
fucking awesome.
It
Batman
made the-
Arkham Knight. Amazing NPCs, man. Hey, man.
I mean,
did you hear
seeing,
about Batman?
yeah, that was super cool.
Robin.
It was a little bit generic, but I mean, yeah, it worked. And
It was so cool,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Like when you have good NPCs, man, the world just comes alive.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was your next one?
no, that was pretty much it. Honestly, I don't have anything else on the top of my head, but I do want to pass the question off to everyone else watching, listening, everything in between. What do you like best about games? What do you look for that would make a game stand out? Is it anything that we mentioned today? Is it something that you personally like best? Let us know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. This is where we're going to leave today's episode. Thank you so much for watching and or listening, because I am trying to put these on a podcast format. So I'm having a lot of issues with that. But thank you so much for watching and listening. If you liked the video, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel and not subscribed yet or not following us, please hit the subscribe button, hit that bell so you get notified whenever these videos and episodes go live. And we'll see you guys in the next Proper Gaming Talk Show next week. Have a great day, guys. Peace out.